education system grapples with a teacher shortage, a school has chosen to dismiss an employee who had worked there for approximately 20 years for wearing an inappropriate shirt during Pride Month in June. The letter stated, and I quote, "The slogan, 'This is my pride flag,' on the Canadian flag conveyed a questionable meaning that contradicts the school's support for inclusion and therefore for the LGBTQ community." End of quote. Because the employee chose to wear it again despite the directive not to do so, the employment was terminated. Due to ongoing procedures, we will keep the identity of the interviewed individual confidential for now. However, we will disclose the identity in a follow-up interview once the process is complete. The most astonishing point is that Quebec recently announced a need for about 1,000 additional teachers to manage the growing student population. While some educators impose their political and gender ideologies on students, those advocating for neutral unbiased education are facing a high level of scrutiny, as demonstrated by my next interviewee. The employee was terminated for wearing a shirt featuring the Canadian flag and the quote, "This is my pride flag," during June, a month dedicated to the LGBTQ+ community. In contrast, teachers who promote leftist ideologies such as Black Lives Matters, gender ideology, anti-colonialism, and anti-capitalism, or HACAB-type content, appears to be widely accepted. However, if you dare to criticize these ideologies, you risk being labeled as a far-right extremist, racist, or bigot, which can quickly lead to cancel culture. What is happening within these institutions that are shaping the next generation? I did contact the school to inquire about their dress code for teachers or any other employees, including what is allowed and what is not. Due to confidentiality concern, I was unable to provide specific details, and I did not receive any response to my request. So I encourage you to hear this shocking story.
I've been an educator for almost 20 years, working at the same school, went to that school. The last 4 years, we have had a new administration that came in. And I think we had maybe a little bit of personality conflict, which is fine. We can't get along with everybody, but we can respect each other as colleagues. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, in my case anyways. About 2 years ago, some teachers decided that they were going to start putting up the flag, the pride flag, to be inclusive and whatnot. I wrote to my director general because some students were asking questions as to why their culture isn't being put up, their flag isn't being put up, and it didn't represent everybody. So I wrote to my director general to ask if it was being put in all of our schools of that board. I never got a reply, but I do know it did get to the admin. The admin sent me a letter to cease and desist. Any further contact with the Director General, who is my big boss, I guess you could say. And I did write back because the flag was put on also with the Canadian flag in front of the school, which was taken down. At the end of last year, we were a few that decided to buy a t-shirt with the Canadian flag on it, with the color khaki to represent our veterans. It was said at the end of the year, supposedly, this is hearsay, by the admin, that she was going to get us back for it. And I guess she did, because I have been getting insubordinations on top of insubordinations that had nothing to do with my performance of work. And the last straw was that I wore the t-shirt again this year in the month of June. I was told that I was wearing a hate symbol, but it's the Canadian flag. And the last day of school, I was told that there was a mandatory meeting with HR, which I had to attend. And I did in good faith, where I was told that it was basically a hate message, and that I was against the LGBTQ, and that I was supposedly following some Michael Berry, which I do not know who that is. So there was lies that was fabulated about me, which I have the proof to contest all of this. And so since I wore that t-shirt, I was dismissed from working at that school or the school board in general. So yeah, I was treated like a criminal.
Can you tell us what was your goal behind wearing that shirt during the June month?
Well, it's supposed to be a month of pride, supposedly, and so therefore we should be proud of all of who we are. The pride flag does not represent everybody; it represents a minority of a group of people, and the pride flag also represents sexuality because it represents bisexual, transgenderism. It represents lesbianism and whatnot there, which I'm not against, but that is something more personal and to keep at home. I wore the Canadian flag because the Canadian flag represents everybody. It represents all children, all ethnic, all cultures of the Canadian society. So that's why I wore it, because it represents unity, it represents hope. But even then, I had worn it throughout the year and there was no problem. And even in the email which I had received from my administrator said that I could wear it in the month of May, that an employee had told her that yes, it did represent that it was worn to represent veterans. And then all of a sudden my t-shirt became some type of a hate symbol, which it never was, and it was never deemed to be that. So I was there to hope that everybody would get represented, but that's not what happened. It just basically turned against me when it shouldn't. So I was discriminated against.
What you can tell us about, what is going on in the school system, because we see a lot of curriculum or other program for children who really promote sexualization or LGBTQ or gender ideology. What you can tell us about?
Well, what I can say from what I've seen in my school is that it is very subjective what is being taught to the children. At the age of 5 years old, they are being encouraged to masturbate because it's called the good touch, bad touch. So at one point, if you're encouraging them to masturbate and encouraging them to know what that feeling is at such a young age, how are they going to know the difference when somebody is touching them in that way, but they're not supposed to? So I find it's very subjective. Also, to be putting up flags that represent sexual differences and whatnot, and sexual attractions at such a young age. They don't even, starting at 5, they're even told that during that sex ed class that that they don't even know what gender they are. So when a child did say, "Oh, look, that doll has a penis and that doll has a vagina," that child, that 5-year-old, when I was there, was specifically told by the sex ed teacher that, "No, we're just going to call them babies for now because they have no identity. We don't know if it's a boy or girl." So the penis no longer represents a boy and the vagina no longer represents a girl. So I was very shocked at that. I was shocked also that there's teachers that are actually putting up flags of the different types of sexual attractions, and it's too young. They're too young to be knowing this. They're too young to be learning this. And there's some kids that are autistic, some children that are anxious, and I mean, they don't need that. They've already have enough to deal with the, making sure that they have their mittens and their scarves and whatnot there, that they don't need to be taught what the sexualism is at that age. And even in high school, they're at the point where they're actually searching for their identity. And there's some of them will be pushed into a direction that they don't need to get pushed into. And I find that sad. I find that very sad for what's going on with our kids today.
It is astonishing to see that they are going as far as firing someone who is working since 20 years at one place when currently we have a lack of employee in the school system. Do you think they can actually afford to lose someone?
No, they can't. And it's not because I'm better than anybody else, but I'm good at what I do. I'm good with the kids. And I love my job. I love working with the kids. I've had a high school student that was graduating who came to see me this year and took out his yearbook, and he said, he goes, when I got my yearbook, he goes, you're the first person I thought of. And he said, thank you for everything you've done to me since grade 3. And it brought tears to my eyes. Even then, I still tear up about it. But I mean, that's why I'm there. I mean, these kids remember me. I see some of them that are, 26 now, and they're like, hi, and how you doing? You were my best educator. And like I said, I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else, but I am good at what I do. And to be dismissed over a difference of opinion, I find that just terrible. It's sad.
What is going on right now? It's why we are keeping you under confidentiality, because now you are trying to get your job back.
I would like to get my job back, mostly my reputation, because the way I'm being treated by the school board right now, I'm being treated like as if I'd done a crime, and I haven't done any crime to anybody in that school. And that's why I'm fighting back, mostly for my reputation, because they're just dragging my name through the mud, and that's not okay.
And so what you are requesting with your union?
Oh, well, I had requested when they were dismissing me, it was brought up as not a deal, but it was brought up to say, well, she can go work in this school. They are offering minutes there. She can go work there. And the answer from HR was that no, we're not going to have that attitude go anywhere else. But these are people that have never, ever worked with me, ever. So I don't know where they have the gall to say that attitude when they don't even know me from Adam.
So you had also like a back and forth explaining what you did wrong. You had like a full letter of dismissal. They are bringing up like a couple of points. Can you just explain like a little bit?
Oh, my insubordinations?
Yes.
Well, the first insubordination that I got was because I wrote to the Director General. The second insubordination I got was said that I had let a parent into the daycare after it was said to no longer let any parents into the daycare. But I was never allowed to defend myself or to even explain that it wasn't even me that buzzed the parent in, but I got right away an insubordination, no right to explain myself, nothing. And it was said also that I had left earlier than my shift, in which I said you can cut my hours, but the shift, it was a prep minute, so we're not in presence of children during that time. And it was also said after that I had threatened a colleague, which I did not, in which I never got to defend myself on that either. So nothing to do with parents making a complaint against me, nothing to do with a child complaining about me, or any other colleagues except for that colleague that said that I was wearing a hate symbol, which was the Canadian flag. So nothing had to do. So this is more on a personal level from the administrator than it is on a professional level. Mm-hmm. So they don't do anything. Nobody does anything because they don't want to ruffle feathers. They don't want to cause conflict. And they're afraid of getting of losing their jobs. And I get that. I'm one of those people, and I knew that there was slightly a risk, but to be brought this far, I was actually quite astonished. But there's one thing I can say, though. I can sleep at night because I know I was there for the kids, and I was always there for the kids, and they were always my first priority. So I'm not one that's going to follow the narrative because everybody else does. I go with my values, and I'm authentic, and I will stick with my values.
Don't forget to go over stopclassroomgrooming.com. On this website, we have a specific petition to stop what is happening in the school system. We are grooming them, we are teaching them gender ideologies and other political ideologies. This needs to stop. So go over stopclassroomgrooming.com and sign our petition right now.